you flying first class, up in the sky, popping champagne, living my life, a fast lane. I wanna shine by the flowers, flowers, the glamorous, by the glamorous, flowers.
Welcome, MoneyB, to Champagne and Conversations. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome. And I know you have something in your cup, so cheers to you.
Always.
Yes, absolutely. So, unlike most, we're going to do a little bit different, and we're going to start this by talking dirty, if that's okay.
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 Hey, always.
And YouTube, don't freak out. That's the name of his album, so relax. But
Right.
yes, let's talk the album. I actually had an opportunity to catch a vibe from it, preparing obviously for our conversation, and it is super dope. So, guys, if you haven't heard Talking Dirty by Money B, legendary icon artist that has been with us since the early 80s, I suggest that you check out his new music because Talking Dirty is obviously one of his solo projects, but super dope. I love Miss Bartender. Of course, I love Ice Cream, and I like Keep Your Eyes on the Mill. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. Eyes on the
Yes.
meal ticket.
Eyes on the
Word.
meal ticket. Got to do that. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about your inspiration with that and how it was to record after working with so many legends throughout your career than just going solo.
So, what I love, Talking Dirty, that album is near and dear to my heart. It was released in 2000 was the year that it was released. And it's actually the one and only Money B solo album.
Yes, cheers to
So,
you.
right. Right, because before it was always, my original group was Raw Fusion, which was myself and DJ Fuse from Digital
Yes,
Underground. We
yes,
joined Digital Underground, so it was either a Digital Underground album or a Raw Fusion album. Even though in Raw Fusion, I was the primary vocalist
on that.
on those albums, but it was always called Raw Fusion as a group. So
Yes,
Talking Dirty was the first, and I believe the only Money B album that was released, and it
and it
was
was fire.
I appreciate that,
Yes.
and it was an album that it was on an independent label that I started along with the business partner Mike Pearson.
Uh-huh.
So it was an independent project that spent my own money on it, and it was the first time that every song was really just a song that I wanted to do. It was a song that I didn't have to kind of have either Fuse love it or see if Shot wanted to do it or whatever.
Yes,
If I wanted to do it
you
on
did.
that album, I did it. But but everybody from our crew, meaning Digital Underground, participated. Like you said, Miss Bartender was produced by Shock G. Fuse
Okay.
did
Yes.
scratches on a couple of songs.
Mm-hmm.
Mystic, who's also, the female artist in Digital Underground. She's on Ice Cream Love with me. You got Element Crew, Cletus Mack on Make Money Money with Mr. Mix from Two Live Crew. Then obviously, I reached back to, my Bay Area family. A Plus from Souls of Mischief is on the album. Edie Amin from the Outlaws is on the album.
Right.
Who else? Uh,
And you had a
Shoot, and
lot
then
of tracks
even,
on there, on that album.
yeah, it was about 16 or 17 tracks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, and I did production on the album. I produced, quite a few songs.
Super dope.
Um, and then you mentioned the song Eyes on a Meal Ticket, and that's a song dedicated, at the time, my feelings about Tupac, because, he passed in 96. And that song was the first time that I had spoken publicly
Oh,
about what I
wow.
thought about his whole situation. So if you go
Okay.
back and listen to Eyes on the Meal Ticket, that was the first time I ever mentioned Pac in one of my songs, or since he had passed, 4 years
Wow.
prior. So
Wow. I love it. I love the track. I love the album. Like I said, it was just fire. And for me, diving into it, just kind of getting the vibe of it. I hadn't really had an opportunity to sit with it. So I went back to a few of the songs and just to get it. And like you said, you're sharing so much of story within the story. So I think that that's just, genius in terms of your body of work. Congratulations on your solo project. I think you should play it more and more because it does
yeah, bring it
deserve.
back.
Yeah, bring it back.
It still stands up actually, which
Absolutely, it still stands up,
surprising. Go
and we're
back.
going to talk about something else that you're working on. So I'll bring that back up when you start in that space and see if you want to bring it back. But yeah,
Mm,
I think that it was super super cool. So now you mentioned Raw Fusion, Love Throw Your Hands, and it was a couple other cuts that you guys had on Raw Fusion. But let's talk about you guys organizing and just starting in hip hop. What was the idea of that? Like, did you have family that was into music heavy and that's how you got into it, or how did it all happen?
no, it was just, it was just the love of the culture and hip hop,
Huh?
and I probably fell in love with it. Always, we all say we fell in love with it the first time we heard Rapper's Delight, right? In '79.
Oh,
But
you
when I
did too?
really, yeah, but I
Yes,
really started to,
yes,
feel it and start to write myself. Just, growing up, I had older cousins who had a lot of records, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
they had all of the old Earth, Wind and Fire, Marvin, all of that stuff. But I had cousins that were just a few years older, one in particular, and he would buy all like the Sugar Hill records and Grandmaster Flash and
Gotta love it.
Spoonie G
Yeah,
and Treacherous 3 and Funky 4 plus one more. So, and my family's originally from Philadelphia. So when I used to go back east in the summertime, I would be hanging with my cousin. I would hear all these records or go to like block parties and park jams. And, I was a little kid, but I would see all of this, I would see hip hop in front of me. And it just,
absolutely.
really just caught my imagination and I fell in love with it.
Fell in
So
love with hip hop. Absolutely. Yes.
word at a very early age. And I when I started, you know, at first I really thought that I was going to be a DJ
Yeah,
or like
I saw
and I
that.
used to tag and do, I used to write. Like my signature is my actual graffiti tag from when I was like 15 or 14 years old. It's
Okay.
still the
All
same.
right. So
So
another piece of art that you put in the collection.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've always just been in love with it. I think it wasn't really till about 85, 84, 85-ish is when I really started picking up the pen and thinking that I could could rhyme. And Fuse, and I used to break dance,
I was
right?
going to say,
So
and dance. So the sing rap
yeah,
dance was definitely
I,
your
I met I met Fuse in like the little breakdance scene
Yeah.
happening in the area, Oakland, Berkeley, in that area. So I would see him, but he was like a white dude that could really, do it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you don't forget somebody like that. So we'd
Right.
see each other and be like, we just say what's up to each other.
So,
And
mm-hmm.
then I eventually ended up doing a song with the schoolmate, and he was like, "Hey, I got a guy that's gonna come and do the scratches," and I'm sitting there waiting. And why does the same white dude walk into the room? And he's a DJ and he did the
Fuse.
scratches,
Uh-huh.
and we kind of like we was rocking ever since. So
Yeah.
from like I was like 86 ish,
Mm-hmm.
and from there we kind of just really started working with each other, honing our skills, and doing any kind of talent shows, church shows, open
Get
mic
going.
on college radio, anywhere we could go to be heard,
Uh-huh.
we would just go, 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 go. So
Yeah.
we were making a sort of like a little name locally on the scene, same time working on demos. And as we were doing these talent shows, right around 1988, there was this other group that had this single Underwater Rhymes called Digital Underground. And
Okay.
they were on the same show circuit with us. And to not make it as long as it has to be, they needed a DJ, and they wanted Fuse to be their DJ because he was becoming known as one of the better DJs in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
And basically Fuse was like, we're a team. So I'll rock with you, but you got to rock with us, with Raw Fusion. Me and MoneyB, we come together.
We come as a
And
package. Yes.
yeah, and Shock was with it. And I can't forget, shout out to Mac Moan, who was a other member of our crew. But so we started out, we would open up as Raw Fusion, then Fuse would DJ for Digital Underground, and then I would sort of like be the dancer hype man,
Yeah, that's
you
cool.
know,
Okay.
and until 1989, when the deal for Tommy Boy came and we recorded our first record under Tommy Boy is the first record that I actually rapped on as a
Yes.
member of Digital Underground. And
Yes. And that was
from
Do
there it
What
was
You Like.
history.
Your
That was Do
first.
What You Like.
Oh my gosh. And before we go into Do What You Like, I do want to ask you two things. One, what
Mhm.
was your childhood like growing up as you were kind of mixing in this art? Was this a way of just expressing yourself? Or did you have any, like things that you were really involved in your younger years that allowed for you to just kind of grow and expand in the art? How did it all kind of fuse together for you?
Well, I always tell people, I think a lot of it is that I had a very supportive family,
Okay.
right? My dad supported everything I did. He bought me my first mixer, would give me money to go buy blank cassettes to record on and
Gotta love
everything.
the
And
cassettes, right?
he was like my biggest cheerleader. And
Uh-huh.
then anything that I did, I just had family that would support and just be there.
Yeah,
So
that was
even
cool.
at a young age, even before before I probably really believed it, I was always being told that I could do it.
Sure.
So there was all, and then from my friends in the neighborhood that would hear the tapes, they'd be like, they'd be like, you're good enough.
Yeah,
So, by the time I was like 16, I had a feeling that I was good enough. And I just figured it was a matter of time. Like I didn't know when I was going to make a record or get a deal or whatever, but I just assumed that eventually it would happen.
it would happen. Yes. Who were your musical influences during that time?
Probably Run DMC
Okay.
was the biggest influence. I loved Run DMC.
Yeah.
Growing up, that was probably. So you see all this behind me.
Uh-huh.
When I was
Your wall of
15, my
fame.
whole wall was just Run DMC,
Really?
just
Okay.
pictures from like Word Up magazine and
Yes. Gotta
all the
love
rap
that
magazines
magazine.
and things. So
Uh-huh.
I had one wall of like Run DMC, and I had another wall of like Dr. J and all of the sports people that I liked.
Yeah, we were best friends. And you know why we were? Because we're both Virgos. So we were connected in two different spaces. Because that was like
Mm-hmm.
my wall. So yes, that is
Where did
definitely
you grow
very.
up?
I grew up in Virginia, where I am right now in Virginia. So
Okay,
two
that's
different
what's up.
coasts, but we had the same things on the wall, and we idolized the same things because basketball was like my thing. Growing up, I like to watch the Lakers with my dad and stuff. So it was
I
always
hated the Lakers.
you did. We couldn't help it. They were just like the dynamic team, and they just
Yeah, I
showed
know.
so well in that time. I'm not gonna date
Yeah, they were so
myself, but
good. They used to beat us all the
it's
time,
so
so that's why I didn't like
good. Because this was 70s and 80s, right? This was not now. This is not now Lakers. This was back
them.
then
Yeah,
Lakers.
early '80s.
Yes, so dope.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so now that we are now headed towards, your career that has now taken off with Digital Underground, and you guys have now launched an amazing track, which is Do What You Like, which I call it legendary because as I went back to look at it two or three more times before we talked, it looked like it was so much energy around that video and obviously that song. So I just wanted to talk to you about that and finding out what was the vibe like and you all putting that together.
Um, well, we just is exactly what it looked like. It was just fun. It was
Just fun,
controlled
right?
chaos. What we did was we rented a room at this motel downtown Oakland
Uh-huh.
and just we brought cameras in and we just had a day party. It
Uh,
was just really us
Everybody was
just
there at that party, right?
well, no, see, the original version of Do What You Like we shot at the motel, but
Okay.
then when we had our album release parties in San Francisco and New York, they cut in clips from those parties. So that was like the remix version of the video where you saw everybody, Eazy-E and MC Light and
Oh
everybody,
my gosh,
and LL Cool
everybody.
J.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so everybody
Yes,
came out to support us. So that was big for us.
that was really big. Yeah. So, and I know that that was like your launch with Digital Underground after you signed with Tommy Boy. So that really, really started the whole the process. And then of course we know the infamous Humpty Dance took it into orbit from there, right?
Mm.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I mean, you know, the Humpty Dance, it changed everybody's life in the release of that album, Sex Packets. Because when we released Do What You Like, I still had a job. So that record was out. I was still
Okay.
going to work every morning. And even when, I think Do What You Like came out, um, Do What You Like was big in Europe before we were big in the United States. So we toured Europe, right? And when I left, I asked my boss, I was like, hey, I gotta go away for a month or two. When I
Right.
come back, can I have my job? I got my job. Then um, Humpty Dance and Sex Packets came out. We did
You're
another
like,
tour,
my job.
and I was like, no, I was like, I got to go out on this tour. When I come back,
Uh-huh.
is it cool to get my job back? And he was like, yeah,
Okay.
we like you and all that. But you're right, I never came back. After that, it was a
You
wrap.
got my job, right?
But I had to make sure.
Yes, yes, yes. Humpty Dance and rest in peace, Shock G. Guys, we all know the legendary Shock G and Digital Underground, and we are talking with Money B, another icon legend of hip hop. And it's just such an honor and a pleasure to have the opportunity to sit with you in this space and just talk. So I do thank you again for joining us today for this.
Mhm.
Now, with Money B, you guys have now kind of made another group, you and Young Hump, who is the uh, protege, I guess, if that's the right term, of
Mhm.
Humpty, or that's the character. So Shock G would be the actual icon and legend, and then Young Hump is his protege. So let's talk about you guys now coming together, and you are doing music not only that you guys have written and produced, but then you do some of the cuts from your earlier time. So how is that in terms of your tours and such?
Well, the phrase we like to use is Young Hump he was chose by the nose, meaning Shock G handpicked him to to play that role. And
Yeah,
he mentored him, originally to audition and play the role of Shock G in the Tupac Shakur movie, All Eyes on Me. But I remember Shock calling me and was like, hey, I got a guy that, because it had, right around, I think in 2012, 2014 were like the last actual Digital Underground touring that me and Shock did together consistently,
uh-huh,
right? And then he decided that he wanted to take a break and do something else, but
yeah,
he knew that I still wanted to do what we were doing. So he was like, hey, I got a guy that you should take a look at. I've been working with him to audition with a movie. He's dope. He can rhyme. You guys can go out and you can do the show the way you want to do the show until or if I ever decide I want to come back,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And at first, I was a little reluctant, right? I was like, what's he
With
trying to
this,
do?
yeah,
But by chance we
saw
ran into
something
each
different.
other.
Uh-huh,
We ran into each other and I saw it. And then once we started we said, let's give it a try. Instantly it worked out. It was like
nice.
a perfect fit. Like Young Hump Shock was right. He's a dope MC. He can bust
So
off the head.
cool.
He's very witty.
Yes,
He's a lyricist. So, Shock had been looking since we started for someone else to play that character so that he could remain Shock G because he was a musician. He wanted to play the
sure,
keyboards, right?
sure.
But he couldn't find the person that looked like him, could also rhyme, had stage presence, like the full package.
Yeah.
And then finally we found him, right? And
Hmm.
he wasn't wrong. Like, Young Hump. And then also I have to mention that young Hump is not Humpty Hump. They're two different characters. You know how you have, we always said that Humpty Hump was a character like Batman or like 007. You know, every movie there's a different person playing them, right? So that, you know, throughout the years, people didn't know. That's how we were able to keep the facade of it being two people, is that Shock's brother used to be Humpty Hump on stage, or we had another one of Shock's friends that kind of looked like him that would play Shock G in our photos. And we always had somebody else that had the look, right? Now we have somebody that can actually execute and perform on stage. But we decided that you know, there needed to be a new character. You know, Humpty Hump is Humpty Hump, but we wanted to give young Hump the freedom to kind of like make his own person, be his own person, and not be stricken to
what
having to
had already done.
Yeah, and go back and look and like, did he eat like this? Did he sit like no?
Yeah.
Like you're young Hump. You're part of the lineage, right? You're related. Everybody says that his son. No, distant cousin, right? But he's his own person. He has his own personality.
Cool. Yeah.
Similar. And I think that sort of takes the pressure off and gives him the freedom to sort of let young Hump be all that young Hump can be.
And he does it. He does it so well. So you guys have produced several tracks from Be Cool, I believe is one. That was one that we were listening to right before. We've had friends to the show, Young Hump, on, and we were hoping that we would have you on sooner. But that song was out and really, really vibing to that when we were talking then. But now you guys have a new song out. So let's talk about let's talk about all of it, but you know, your new song as well.
So the new song is called F It Up, right? And you know, is what we do, is a party jam, right? We just wanted to bring fun back to hip hop and just about just having a good time and let loose and get wild. That's why it's F It Up. You know what F It Up means, right? And that's what you do. When you at the party, you gotta, you know, anytime you do anything, you want to F it up. That means you put your thing down.
That's right.
And you did it. So that's what the vibe of the song is about. What's unique about the song is that, you know, we plan to release it as an NFT music single, meaning it's going to be released on the blockchain and primarily and probably solely available on the blockchain. You'll be able to hear it, but if you want to purchase or own it, you have to buy it as an NFT. And that's, for people who don't know, it's non-fungible token, which is basically, it's purchased on the blockchain with cryptocurrency, and you get a token or a certificate in your digital wallet that says that you own it, and you are the one that has access to it. And it's a form of it's a transaction that's peer-to-peer, meaning that if you buy my NFT, it goes directly into my wallet. That's available to me that day. It's not you buying it from a label or Spotify and they got to wait 8 months to pay me and they got to do the calculating. It's like everything you spend goes directly to the artist that you're supporting. And I believe that's the for me, that's the future.
Yeah, that's the new way.
Transacting, right? And you can offer so much more.
Yes, and also now that you've said that, that's what I wanted to say to you about Talking Dirty. I'm hoping that you'll put that in NFT as well.
That's a good idea.
Yes, and we'll look, I'll be online looking for that. Once you put it in, we'll definitely support Talking Dirty, because I thought that was super dope too. So now that you've touched on your new projects, and so now you've gone from artist to entrepreneur, which I love. So let's touch on your NFT space and the entrepreneur space that you have going on now, because you have several ventures, including a book coming out. And I don't want to leave without talking about some of your new contributions. So please share what you're working on now.
Okay, so you know, I'm really heavy into the the blockchain, crypto, NFT, what we call as Web3 space, meaning and it's just the new way of doing business, which I would
Exactly.
really suggest that, if you're an artist in any form, whether it's a photographer, a painter, a music artist, whatever you do, if you have art that you would like to share with the world, look into Web3 and selling your art through the blockchain. Meaning, and like I said, it's a peer-to-peer sort of not sort of, but it's peer-to-peer transaction, and it's where you can directly connect with your supporters, meaning you buy directly from me, but I also get direct feedback. I can offer you things, say like you buy my NFT, then you have access to a private Zoom call every Thursday with MoneyB so that
Oh,
we can
nice.
discuss things. But you have
Okay.
to hold the token or own the NFT to have access to things like that. Or you
Okay.
buy the NFT and, depending on which one you buy, maybe you get a t-shirt or you get some sort of access, like there's going to be an NFT, a tier of my NFT that if you own it, then for 2 years, any digital underground show in the world you can attend for free.
Wow.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So the artists, the supporters, or your the base of people that support you can directly, support and transact with the artist, but the artist can directly support and interact with the fan base. You know what I mean?
That's so
It's
cool.
right,
Are
and
you
there's
giving
no
private, are you giving like private lessons on how to even get into the NFT space?
I haven't done private lessons, but I've been on IG, and I plan to go, on any platform where I think people will come and check it out to share any information that
Share.
I have. And
Okay.
so, I say that to say like, so, one thing that I've sort of decided that I really want to do moving forward is to share as much information I can, to give financial literacy back to our Black and Brown communities, because we don't know about these things. And that goes from NFTs and cryptocurrency, that goes about credit, that goes about how to get a loan and get a house. It's all of this stuff that's not
So
shared
important.
with us. And
Mhm.
so, I just really hope to be able to help share that information, at least information that I know, information that I have people that I can bring in to share what they know. From my side of it, it would be, the Web3 space and cryptocurrency and whatnot. But I got, mentors of mine that have already, said that they would do a class strictly on how to buy
Nice.
stocks or how to
Okay.
watch the market and, you know, everything.
Yes.
So
That's
that's
cool because it's important to understand it. Yes.
that's a long-term goal of mine, right?
Mhm.
So that falls right along the line of what I'm doing in the Web3 space.
Uh-huh.
Um, obviously we'll continue to make music and carry on the digital underground legacy through the music and through live performances. We're really out doing a lot of shows. So depending on where you are, you know,
In
keep
partake.
checking in with me,
Yeah.
because when I'm hitting your city, I'm gonna let you know that
Yeah.
I'll be there. So you definitely want to come. And I'm not even telling a lie. I still think we have one of the best live shows in hip hop
I'm sure.
ever.
I'm sure.
Right?
And it's funny, I like that you all dropped on Drink Champs that there is an awards out for the Humpty Dance, and the song has been sampled so many times. So as soon as you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned it, I went to YouTube to pull it up, and you're right. I mean, I love, love, love Heavy D, and I mean, it's just so live and learn, and L Mama said knock you out. I mean, it's just so many songs that have been sampled or have sampled the Humpty Dance, and who knew until you guys had shared that with there's an award for that. So when are you giving it? Have you given it out yet?
No, that was a skit that we did on one of our albums many
Yeah,
years ago. That
yeah,
was just like, that we pointed out like we know who you are, right? And it's okay. We love it.
that's
Especially
right.
Shock was getting them checks for producing
Yeah,
it too.
yeah,
So
it's
couldn't
cool.
be mad at it.
Hip
Um,
hop history, gotta
one
love it.
one 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 sample that I didn't mention on Drink Champs is that So
Will we
you
get an
remember that?
exclusive?
Yeah, exclusive.
Yes.
6 million ways to die. Choose one, right? That's from a Raw Fusion. That's from a Raw Fusion record.
Nice.
So yeah,
Now
that
I gotta
originally
go
that was my
listen to
guy.
that.
Yeah, so if you go to the first Raw Fusion album, which is Live from the Styletron,
Yes.
and listen to a song called Don't Test. My guy Under P, Courtney Nevers, he's the one that originally said that. And if you listen to my record, you could hear, because anytime you hear it sampled, he says it and then he laughs and then it cuts off, right? Because the
6
beat
million
drops.
ways to
When you
die.
listen to my record, then you hear the laugh carry through even after the music plays.
Oh,
That's
I
it.
love it. Yes, y'all, we got an exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Yes. So, so cool. And hip hop history. So now when you're speaking of that, what part of the industry do you like most? Did you like DJing, being an artist? Do you like producing? Or of course now educating on ways to build legacy?
Um, my favorite part has always been performance.
Okay.
Because you're directly connecting with your audience.
Yeah.
So like you make a record, right? Well, this is back in the day. You make a record, you have to get it mixed, and then you get a release date. So, sometimes you make a record and it doesn't come out till 9 months after you make it. And then when it comes out, you're wondering, are these people going to respond to it? And
Sure.
then even when it comes out, you have to wait until a certain period when they start tallying up record sales of whether or not it was well received or not, right? But when you do a show, as soon as you step on stage and you grab the mic and the first words that come out of your mouth, you get the
Get the
connection with whether or not
energy.
the
Yeah.
audience, you get the energy, you feed off
Yeah.
of it, and right? Because I've done it both ways. Obviously now if you come to see Digital Underground, you come to see Digital Underground. But I've done shows where they weren't there to see Digital Underground,
Well,
and
who were they
you
there to
felt it.
see? Whoever else was touring with you?
I mean, there's instances where we've been in cities and we've gotten booked by a promoter just to fill in a date, and it wasn't necessarily promoted well, and it's in a club that might not have been our crowd. It was just to be there, and
Uh-huh.
you can tell right away, like these guys aren't here. They was just there for the chicken wings, because it was a special on Thursdays or whatever,
Right,
right?
right. Uh-huh.
Or or you do shows and you may, you know, say you do a show when you're on the bill with another artist, and maybe the majority of the people are there for that artist. I mean, it's so many different reasons, and
Uh-huh.
none of them was I ever upset about. It's just because we had already had the success to know that we had good music. It's just sometimes you can place somebody in the wrong spot, right?
Yeah. And I mean, with you saying that you guys have just that energy with the show, I can only imagine that even if they may not have been there initially, just once you guys start performing, it's hard to not really get into it because all of the music is just party, party, party. And then, of course, you have your theatrics that go along with it. So that just makes
Right.
it more of an entertainment. So, now, do you guys have any shows coming up anytime soon? Do you have a tour booked?
We do. We do. We have oh, if I had the dates in front of me, but for what I
But
can
we know
think,
you'll post them
I
and
know.
share your social
Yeah, I'll
media.
post them. So yeah, I know we're in San Diego on June 22nd, which I believe is a private show.
Okay.
But in July, we have some stuff. I know in August we're in like Columbus, Ohio. Then we're um, in the Northwest, near Seattle, Washington, up in Washington State. Then, August 25th is Shock G's birthday, but also Digital Underground Day in Oakland. But we'll probably be in Tampa,
Nice.
Florida, where he's from,
Nice.
to
Uh-huh.
celebrate his life and his
Oh,
birthday.
wow.
We got a bunch of shows in September and October. So I
Nice.
mean, we're moving and grooving.
Yeah, and I heard that the entire or most of the Digital Underground crew are Virgos. So I love that. Gotta love the Virgo
All of
season.
us. Yep. Let's see.
So cool.
So when's your birthday?
The 20th
Of
of September.
September. See, I'm the 22nd, the last
Uh-huh.
day.
Uh-huh.
Um, Cletus Mack is August 24th. Shagji is August 25th. Saphir is August 2nd or something like that. Young Hump is, no, I mean, sorry, September. Young Hump is September 16th.
Yeah.
There's Dialect, who's our DJ. My wife is September 10th.
Love it.
Shoot, we just, our whole crew.
That's
It's like
so
about
cool.
6 or 7 of us that are
Yeah,
all
it's
Virgo.
so cool. The Virgos rock. So yes, got to
Virgo
love
gang,
that.
for real, for real.
Yes. Now let's talk about this book that you have coming out. I know that you don't have specifically a date on it, but
Mm.
what cued the book? I'm sure The Life of, but if we could get some behind the scenes of it would be awesome.
Yeah, people would say, why'd you write a book, right? But I would tell any person or any artist, you don't even have to be an artist, but I would say, write your book. Because if we don't tell our stories, then somebody else will tell it, right?
Sure.
And so
Yes.
if we left it up, to other people, 50 years from now, Big Daddy Kane will be a white dude because they'll tell it
Or
the
depicted
way
by
they,
one, right?
yeah, exactly. So we have to tell our stories when we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just believe that, and one of the reasons that I did write it is because, and two things happen. Because anytime that I'm just talking in personal conversation or just with a lot of my friends, every time we're talking about something, I have all these stories about, oh
Of
yeah, I
course.
remember one time with this person or with that person, or when we were on tour with this, or when
Yeah.
we did that, or oh yeah, I did that. And so, kind of like almost like a hip hop Forrest Gump, right? So, and when you hear that I'm writing a book, you could think that, okay, I'm about to tell you the story about how how it was being in Digital Underground and Tupac or whatnot. But
Yeah,
that's
of
just a
course.
piece of it.
That's a piece.
That's
Uh-huh.
only a piece of it because I feel like my book is not a hip hop book. It's almost like an American history story because
Okay.
I come from I'm giving you real life experience from you know 4 to 5 decades. Meaning, my father was in the Black Panther Party, and I grew up
Mm.
within that in Oakland. So, I experienced that. Huey P. Newton actually handed me my diploma when I graduated. So, I'm telling you what it was like to be in the Black Panther Party in the 70s. I survived the 80s when crack hit us hard, right? And, as a teenage person, I did some of those things that people were doing. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So firsthand of experience of surviving that. And then you have the 90s, of course, with Digital Underground and touring with Public Enemy and Tupac and Digital Underground and Heavy D, like you said, just all of these amazing stories. And then even after that, sort of like post Limelight, what it's like and some of
When the
the
lights go
issues
out.
that I
Yes.
have. Yeah, so and you're actually hearing it firsthand from somebody who experienced all of these things. So,
Sure.
like I said, I'm telling you what it was like firsthand, and with iconic movements. When I say that, I'm
Yes,
saying like
indeed.
with the Black Panther Party, and then this whole wave of I won't call it a movement, but this epidemic of crack cocaine hitting the inner cities and what it did to our communities and surviving that, and then the hip hop movement of the 90s and 2000s and everything else. So I'm just sharing my story and sort of giving you a firsthand view of what it was like to navigate through all of those experiences.
Love that. And when you speak of the book and you speak of the experiences and such, I think that that's just so very important, like you say, because it's just going to be, a novelty for history and for those folks that need to understand. But I did hear a remark of yours that you mentioned. I know you're talking about the Black Panther Party and you being on the West Coast, but you say you are an honorary, I guess, a resident of Queens. You say you like Queens as well. So what is it about the East Coast that you like?
Well, that's where I'm from originally, right? So I was
Okay.
born in Philadelphia.
Okay.
That's where my
All right.
family's from. Remember, I said
Okay.
earlier that I used to go to Philly every summer.
Uh-huh.
So I would go to
Uh-huh.
Philly and New Jersey, mostly South Jersey, but Newark. And I
Uh-huh.
have family, you know, just on the East Coast. I would spend all my summers there. But, you know, Shock G is originally from New York. And so when we would be in New York, that's kind of like his family was in Queens. You know, and I have my quote unquote adopted brother. He's from Queens in that area. Okay. And then, you know, we were signed at Raw Fusion when we were signed to Hollywood Basic, the label we were signed to. We were label mates with Organized Confusion, who were also from Queens. And so those were my guys. So it just felt like anytime I was in New York, the people that I was close to all had roots in Queens. And so that's where I spent a lot of my time there.
Okay. All right.
Especially if I went, you know, outside of business. If it wasn't business and I needed to crash, it was normally somebody in Queens that I was calling.
Okay, I got that. So, as you have now gone through your whole, I mean, like you said, it's been 4 decades, that you have spent in the industry. What else do you have on the horizon? What are you planning for, going forward?
Like I said, the goal is to, and obviously, you know, there's always this argument of, you know, when musicians, especially rappers, should retire. But I always say, if you're able to make good music, why would you ever quit? You know, we don't tell doctors to quit being doctors or attorneys or artists to quit drawing. Like, it's like your knees don't wear out and you can't rap no more. So as long as I have my wit and I'm able to write songs, I'll continue to do that, and God willing, perform as long as people will want to see us. But also, you know, kind of just build on some of the other entrepreneurial things that I'm into. Obviously, you have the NFT space and the blockchain and whatnot. You know, I also manage an artist, Lil Mikey TMB. You know, I mentor other artists. You know, my roots in from the Black Panther Party somehow still leads me to want to do work for the community. So that's why I talk about the financial literacy. So, you know, if we can create programs and organizations that grow, that'll probably, you know, I'll lend a lot of my time towards that.
Nice.
And I'm also involved in a Black-owned streaming network called Vyre Streaming Network. You guys should check out.
Yeah, spell that.
V as in victory, YRE, Vyre Streaming Network. You definitely want to check that out. You know, I manage the digital underground merchandise. You see that MoneyB and Young Hump. Go get it at dumerch.com. You know, I'm here for it. Everything.
Just mixing it all up in the entrepreneur space and keeping the legacy alive, and we love to see it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had an awesome time sitting and having a conversation with the legend MoneyB, as we know him from so many aspects of life. But before we leave, I want you to share your social media so that they can follow you and find you.
From day one. All right. You know, everybody can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MoneyB69. And that's, you know, if you want to know what's going on with me or where I'm at or what I'm doing, normally if I got something popping, I'm gonna post there. You can also follow on Facebook, if you're still on Facebook, at the Digital Underground fan page, which is Digital Underground, or the MoneyB fan page, which is MoneyB. You know, YouTube. You know, I have my show, which is a classic hip hop show called The Way Back Show.
Your podcast.
Yes, check that out. On Twitch, which I'm just starting to grow a little more. Is at MoneyB69 as well. You know, it's all at MoneyB69.
All about MoneyB69.
Like the position.
Yes.
You know it.
Absolutely.
And what else is there? Oh, and then if you're into Web3 space, you can always join me in the Crypto Voxels metaverse. And we have the DUHQ, which stands for Digital Underground Headquarters, which is also the title of our of our Discord channel. So
very cool.
DUHQ on Discord and in Crypto Voxels. I'm on Clubhouse at MoneyB69 as well.
Yes,
Shit,
we've seen you on
everywhere.
there having conversations as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had MoneyB sit and talk with us today. Such a pleasure and an honor. Cheers. So please stay with us just a moment and we'll take you out. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having us. Peace.
From day one, I had to hustle like a disco dancer. Put it down, now I'm the one chick champ for. I knew the answer, go plat stack, get on the damn tour. Flip chips so that I can